So welcome back to another video. This is the second part of the video. Here we're going to be handling example 5, example 6. Then we are also going to handle example 7 and 8. In our last video we did example 1, 2 and example 3, 4. In this video we're going to be handling more examples. Now, the first thing you want to understand when it comes to what factorization is that once you have an equation like this, you have to multiply the first and the last. But because of this equation, it is not in the proper order. We need to first of all rearrange the equation. If you want more introduction of factorization, then you can go back to example 1 and 2. But here I just want to go straight so we can deal with more problems. So we need to rearrange this equation in a descending order of power. What does it mean to arrange an equation in a descending order of power? It means that whether it's an unknown or a number with the greatest power will come first, then the one with the second greatest power will come second, then the third number will just come in line after that. But the most important thing is that the x must go accordingly. That means if you have x squared here, then we need to have x here, then the last number will not have x. So we need to arrange it in that order. Now what do we do? Like I said, we multiply the first and the last term. So when you multiply the first and the last term, we are going to have 20s squared. What do we do after that? We need to look for a number that we can multiply that will give you 20 but add to give you 9. I mentioned in my last video that for now you forget about the signs. Just focus on the number alone. We can work out the sign later. So let's use the LCM method. If you can use your calculator to find this, you can do that. But here we need to use the LCM method. So the LCM method simply you put this number, that is the number you get after multiplying the first and the last term, you put it in your table like this. You create a table such as this. Now you need to use any number, but start from the smallest number you can find, either 1 or 2. But here we know that 20 divided by 1 will give you 20, and there's no way 20 and 1 will add or subtract to give you 9. So let's start from 2. So if we start from 2, we are going to have 20 divided by 2, that will give you 10. We know that 10 20 cannot add or subtract to give us 9. So we need to divide 10 again. So we say 10 divided by 2, we are going to have 5. We first of all say 20 divided by 2, that will give you 10. 10 divided by 2, that will give you 5. 2 times 2 will give you 4, and we know that 4 plus 5 will give you 9, which is exactly what we want here. So you keep on dividing the number until the LCM can either add or subtract from the remainder in order to give you the number at the middle. So here you can see how we divided 2 twice, and when we multiply the two numbers on the division column and we add that number to the remainder, this is the remainder here, 5, we are going to get 9, which is exactly what we want. So now how do we work out the sign? So if you have two numbers like this, just like we have here, if you have two numbers 4 and 5 that are adding together, 4 and 5, as you can see here, they are adding together, and then you have a negative sign. You want them to add together to give you a negative sign. It means the two numbers have to be negative. So we have negative 4 and negative 5, because when you have two negative numbers adding together, then they will add up but give you a negative sign. That means negative 4 minus 5 will give you negative 9. I hope that was clear. After that, we simply replace the whole of this 9 with the factor that we got. That is the two factors that we can multiply to give us 20 but add to give us 9. So we replace the whole of this 9. We write this equation back, only that the whole of this 9 will be replaced by those factors. So here we are going to have s squared minus 5s minus 4s. It really does not matter the way you put this thing. you can see here that we just what put the 2x with the factors. That's why I say we should not bother about the x and we should not bother about the sign, because here you can see that we are just putting the x with the 2 factors, because if you multiply them now, you get what 20x squared, and if you add them, you get what negative 9x, just as you can see here. So after we've done that, we are going to have an equation that looks like this. So the next thing we need to do is look for anything that is common between the first and the what second term. Then we pull that number out or letter out. So here you can see that what between x squared and negative 5x, the only thing that can divide what x squared and also divide negative 5x is what x, because x squared divided by x will give you x, and negative 5x divided by x will give you what negative 5. So once you put that number out, you are going to put whatever your answers are like this into the bracket, because x squared divided by x will give you what x, and negative 5x divided by x will give you what negative 5. So if you open this bracket back, you are going to get everything that is here. So here again, you look for what can divide what negative 4x, and that can divide 20. So negative 4x and 20, we know that what the only thing that can divide negative 4x and that can also divide 20 is what 4. But you need to pay attention here. Whenever you have what negative sign in the third place like this, just as you can see here, you can see we have a negative sign here. You simply pull out that negative sign and put it in front. Then this positive sign will turn into a negative sign, because what negative 4 times negative 5 will give you what 20. You can use your calculator for the whole of this if you want to, but it's important to understand the concept. So we have what negative 4x can be divided by negative 4 to give us what x, because negative 4 times x will give what negative 4x. 20 divided by negative 4 will give you what negative 5, because what negative 4 times negative 5 will give you what 20. And if you have done everything correctly, this bracket should be the same thing as this bracket. So what do we do after that? We take one of these brackets and put it down like this. Then we combine what's the common factor between the two. This factor and this factor, we just bring them together using the sign in front. So we are going to have what s minus 4. And this is the answer to our factorization. Or this is the answer we get after factorizing correctly. If we expand this bracket now, we're going to get everything that is here. Let's move on to number 6. Here we have what t squared plus 2t minus 24. You can see this one is already arranged in the proper order. So what do? The first thing we need to do is what multiply the first and the last term. So after multiplying the first and last term, we're going to get what 24t squared. I did not write it the way it is here, but we can still make use of this. So we multiply the first and last time, we're going to get what negative 24t squared. Now we need to look for a number that will multiply that will give you 24, but add to give us 2. So you can follow our LCM method as usual. 24. So 24 divided by 2, what are we going to get? We're going to get 12. 12 divided by 2, we are going to get 6. Now you know that what? If you multiply these two, you are going to have what? 4. And 6 minus 4 will give you what? 2, which is exactly what we want. So like I explained earlier, we need to divide this until the LCM can either add or subtract from the remainder to give us what is at the middle. So here now we know that definitely the numbers I'm looking for is what? The LCM, which is 4, and the remainder, which is 6. So we know 6 minus 4 will give you 2. Now it's important to just know that what 6 times negative 4 will give you what? Negative 24, which is just exactly what we need. We don't need to flip any sign here because the number at the middle is already positive, and that's exactly what we want. It is quite straightforward. So we need to replace the whole of these 2, which was this factor here, after just multiplying the factors by t. So we are going to have 60 and 40, just like you can see here. 60 minus 40 will still give you 2t. We are only just replacing it so we can now factorize completely. So we write our equation just like this, and then we have to look for what can divide t squared and divide 60. It's no other thing but t, because t squared divided by t will give you what? T. And 60 divided by t will give you what? 6. Here, what is common between what, or what can divide -4 that can also divide -24 is no other thing but negative what? 4. So you can see here that we are not following the same technique or process that we followed here, because of one sign is negative, the sign in front of the smaller number is negative, while the sign in front of the bigger number is positive. That's why we need to bring out what? This negative sign, put it out here, and then this positive sign will turn to negative, just as you can see. But here, since the two of them, they are negative, we just need to bring out the whole negative sign, put it down here, and this one will be positive because what? -4 times 6 will give you what? -24. So we know that -40 divided by -4 will give you what? T. And -24 divided by -4. When negative sign are dividing each other, when you have negative sign on top and negative sign on the bottom, it will cancel out. So -24 divided by -4 will just give you what? 6. So after we've done that, if we've done everything correctly, we should have what? These two brackets equal. We bring one of these brackets down, and then we just combine these two terms, t and -4. So we are going to have what? T minus 4. If we expand this bracket now, you should get everything that is here. So let's move on to number 7 and number 8. Now for number 7, we have what? Y squared plus 3y minus 28. Just like I said earlier on, the first thing we do is what? Multiply the first and the last term. So we are going to have what? Y squared times -28. We are going to have what? -28y squared. That's the reason for my arrow indicating here. We are going to have -28y squared. Now let's forget about the negative sign and the y. Let's just focus on 28 and 3. So we put our 28 into our table like this. Then we say what? 28 divided by the smallest number we can find, which is 2. That will give you 14. 14 plus 2 will give you 16, which is not what is at the middle. And 14 minus 2 will give you what? 12, which is also not what is at the middle. So we need to divide again by 2. 14 divided by 2, that will give you what? 7. 2 times 2, that will give you 4. 7 plus 4 will give you 11. But 7 minus 4 will give you what? 3, which is exactly what we have at the middle. And since it's a positive sign, that means this is quite straightforward. So I'm going to have 7 minus 4 is equals to 3. So you don't need to flip any sign or do anything, because this is quite straightforward. The only thing we need to do is what? Multiply each term by what? Y. So we're going to have what? 7y and -4y. The next thing we need to do is replace this what? 3y with the whole terms that are here. That's what? 7 and 4. You know, as 7y minus 4y will give you what? 3y. We are only just replacing 3y with the factor, or those factors that give us what? 28. That we can multiply to give us what? 28. We put them into our equation just like that with the same sign, except if we've done any sign modification, just like you've seen in previous examples, then we put the appropriate sign. If you make mistake with the sign, you're going to get your answer wrong. So we are going to have y squared plus 7y. You simply what? Minus 4y minus 28. You simply put the first term back, replace the second term with those factors, and then put the last term back. After that, we need to look for anything that can divide what? Y squared and also divide 7y. That is no other thing but y. You know, y squared divided by y will give you what? Y. And 7y divided by y will give you 7. If you expand this bracket, you are going to get everything that is here. Now we see that we have negative sign in both places. So we bring down the negative sign. Then we are going to have what? 4y divided by 4. That will give you what? Y. That's why we have y inside here. And 28 divided by 4. That will give you what? 7. But this sign is what? Positive, because by the time we expand this bracket, we are going to have a negative sign, which is exactly what is here. So after we've done that, we we just simply take one of this bracket down and then combine these two. Y minus 4 will be the what second bracket, just as you can see here, y minus 4. So we can see here, I want to explain something about the sign now, that we have what negative sign here, we have negative sign here. You pull out the negative sign, but then the negative sign of the bigger number is what going to turn into a positive sign, just like you can see here. Unlike the previous example we did, look at this place here. You can see that the sign here is positive, unlike what we saw earlier on. The sign here is positive, or unlike what is here, the two signs here are negative. But here the sign is positive, while the smaller one is negative. That's why we have what? We brought down the negative sign as usual, but then the positive sign is turning into negative. But here you can see that we brought out the negative sign as usual, but the negative sign is turning into positive. So it's almost like the signs alternate. If you can put it in your brain like that, if it's easier for you to understand. Because I want to make sure that I explain it so that you can, solve any problem you find. Let's go to number 8. Here we have what? S squared minus x minus 72. If you multiply the first term and the last term, you are going to have what? Negative 72s squared. Now I want you to forget about the s squared and I want you to forget about the sign. Just focus on 72. If you have x like this, just x alone, there's an invisible 1 in front of x. So this means that we are dealing with what? 72 and 1. So we need to look for a number or any number that can multiply to give us 72 but add to give us what? 1. Because the number in front of x here is 1. So if we draw our table as usual, we put 72 here. We're going to have what? 72 divided by 2, that will give you what? 36. There's no way we are going to add 36 and 2 or subtract 2 from 36, that it will give us what? 1. So we need to divide again. 36 divided by 2, we're going to have what? 18. 2 times 2 will give you 4. There's no way we can add 4 to 18 that will give us 1, or subtract 4 from 18 that will give you 1. So we need to divide again by what? 2. 18 divided by 2 will give you 9. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is what? 8. If you add 9 plus 8 will give you 17, but if you say 9 minus 8 will give you what? 1, which is exactly what we want, only that now we have to rearrange the sign. Like I told you, if you have a negative sign like this, all you need to do is just flip it around. That is, the negative sign will come to the front here and the positive sign will come to the back here. So we are going to have negative 9 and positive 8. So whenever you have the two factors subtracting from each other to give you a negative sign, all you need to do is just alternate the sign. The one with the positive sign return to what? Negative, and the one with the negative return to positive. That's all. That's just what you can see here, negative 9 and 8. So once we've done that, we've alternated the sign. You can see that if you multiply what? Negative 9 times 8 will give you what? Negative 72. All we just need to do is multiply these factors with x. That's why we have what? Negative 9x and 8x. So we replace this negative x with what? The whole factors that we got. That is the factors that we multiply to give us 72 but add to give us x. And that's exactly what we have here. So we bring the first term down. We replace negative x with those factors after dealing with the sign properly. Don't make mistake with the sign. Then we bring down the last factor. So what are we going to do here? We are going to look for n's that can divide what? S squared and also divide what? Negative 9x. It's no other thing but x. S squared divided by x will give you x. Negative 9x divided by x will give you what? Negative 9. If you expand this bracket, you are going to get everything that is here. We move on to the next place. What is common between what can divide 8x that can also divide what? 72. Now you can see that the sign here is negative. So if we say 8x divided by 8, that will give you x. And since the sign here is negative, so we want our sign to also be negative because these two signs has to be equal. So I'm going to have negative 72 divided by 8. That will give you what? Negative 9. And you can see that these two brackets, they are equal. If you see that the two brackets are not equal, then you've done something wrong. And it's most likely has to do with the sign. You can use your calculator to figure out what it is. So what do we do next? We bring down what? These brackets, and then we combine these two factors. Since it's positive sign that is in front of it, we're going to have what? 8 plus x plus 8. So I'm going to have x plus 8 here. If you expand this bracket, you're going to get everything that is here. So that is exactly how you solve factorization. It is important to understand factorization because you are going to make use of it to solve quadratic equations using factorization method and so many other aspects of mathematics that are going to use it for. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching.